how's it going? My name is 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶𝗁 and I am a business coach for authors over at paperbackingdom.com. I wanted to come on today and talk to you guys about 3 reasons why you are finding it difficult to write right now. I love this topic because I just feel like there's so much we can dig into with it. I want to keep it really simple and kind of break this down for you today. If you have been struggling to write for some time, if you have been trying to put words on paper, like you have the idea, you know kind of what you want to be doing, but every time you try and sit down and write, it's like they're not flowing. It's like you can't get motivated. Whatever's coming up for you, there is definitely something underneath that you can look at that will help you to shift this. As someone who has written almost 14 books and has published at least 8 of those books, I've definitely been writing for a very long time. I have had to write under pressure and deadlines with my ex-publisher, where I had to finish a manuscript within 3 months maximum. I've also given myself self-imposed deadlines in the past. I've also been known to write a book in a month. It's so possible to write quickly, and really that's how it should feel. I'm a big believer that if you want to write, you will write, plain and simple. You will find the means, the energy, the time. I remember being in high school and I would sneak in writing in class when I was done with my work. If you want to write, you will. You will just find time. So I really believe, I'm a really big believer that your writer's block, or whatever else you feel is blocking you, whether it be that you're too tired after work, you're too demotivated, you're out of ideas, or the ideas haven't quite formed yet, whatever it is, it's not really the true block that's blocking you, because if you could work through that, you would, right? So we want to look at what is actually the thing blocking you, right? My very first reason that I have for you is that you aren't clear enough on your story. And I'm not saying this in a sense of you have to be like a plotter and you have to have a full outline and you have to know all the things that are going to happen. No, not necessarily. I've definitely pantsed books before. You don't have to have clarity on everything, but you do have to have clarity on what you need to know right now to get you to the next point in your book, right? So have you ever tried to sit down and you've tried to start a new idea, you're really excited, you've got clarity on your main character and maybe a few other supporting characters, and you kind of know where you want it to go. Maybe you have your major plot points, right? But when you try to sit down and write, you maybe make it a couple of pages in and then you hit a block, right? And you kind of lose that momentum, or you run out of ideas, or you feel a bit stuck, right? What's actually happening here is that you're not clear enough on something, and we need to figure out what that something is, that is preventing you from actually being able to move forward with your story, right? So that something could be that, for example, you don't know what's actually motivating your main character. You know that they need a reason to go talk to this bad guy, or take action in this conflict happening, or go to a certain location, but you don't have the motivation for why they would do that. You don't have the backstory there. You don't have the conflict that's building up there, right? And so whatever the thing is that's missing, you're lacking clarity around that, and it's causing you to hit a block. It could be something like that. It could be that you're not clear enough on what needs to come next in the story, so you've already hit up to where you have ideas for, and you're kind of stuck on how to move forward, right? It could literally be anything, but you getting clarity is how you're going to be able to keep moving forward, right? And so what is really helpful when you hit these blocks is to simply give yourself a couple of prompts. And again, you don't have to go really in detail around this, where you fill out a whole 67 question thing about your character, right? Just give yourself some key guiding prompts based on what you feel you need to know to be able to make progress in the story. So maybe that is, what does my character want? What does my character what are they afraid of? What do they stand to lose, right? It could be what are some of their hobbies, so you can build out their character a bit more and give them a bit of a backstory. It could even be what do they want more than anything, right? What are they trying to accomplish? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Anything to do with that. Again, you could keep this at 5 to 6 questions, but that will give you the clarity you need to be oh, this is why they would do this, or this is why it's feeling a bit flat, or this is why it's not progressing the way it should, right? Because you'll start to get clarity on why they're taking certain actions, right? And you can do this for the plot as well. You can ask yourself, what's happening? Why is it happening this way? What else needs to happen to support this main conflict? What are some sub-conflicts? What are some obstacles that need to come up, right? You can just kind of brainstorm it out a little bit, right? And so even just having that clarity, and even giving yourself a little bit of an outline, just a few lines per per chapter to give yourself a goal for what you're trying to accomplish with each chapter and where that's going can help you to kind of run with your ideas. And you can still be super flexible with that, right? You don't have to have it all super outlined. But that's the first thing, is you're lacking clarity on what you're actually trying to accomplish from the start, right? You're lacking clarity on how you get from point A to point B. The second thing is that it doesn't feel easy, right? Which I know it sounds obvious, right? Of course, if it felt easy, you would be writing, right? But that's really the key thing of it, right? You're not making it feel easy for you. So here's the thing, right? How often do you let your feelings dictate your writing progress, right? How often do you come home from a really long day at school or work and you think to yourself, I just feel too tired to sit down and do writing. I feel too demotivated. I feel like too stressed, right? Too tense to focus, right? Whatever it is, it's always a feeling more than you being a certain thing, right? Rather than you being too tired, you feel too tired. And the thing about feelings is that they can always be shifted, because feelings are just energy. So yes, there's going to be times when you come home and you have had a really long day and doing anything else would probably impact your mental health, and you probably should take some time to relax. But like I said, if you really want to write, then oftentimes we come home from a long day, and like, writing is how we do relax. Writing is how we find enjoyment. Writing is something we actually want to spend our time doing, regardless of how we're feeling, right? How do I get into a really aligned space where I can tackle writing and actually feel good about it, which will allow me to focus, which will allow me to actually sit down and start it, right? Because that's the biggest hurdle, is actually getting started. Once you start and you realize, oh yeah, like I'm in this, it's really enjoyable, I'm really into the scene, everything shifts. It becomes a lot easier to keep going. Even if you just do a couple of pages and then you go, okay, I'm actually done. Like, that might be a half-hour writing session, but you know what? You still made progress, and that's better than if you'd made no progress, right? So the thing here is the feeling, right? How do you shift the feeling? So quite often, if we're coming home after a long day and we feel tired, like, you know what I do? I take a nap. I take a quick nap, and I tell myself that I'm going to wake up from that nap feeling refreshed, and that I'm going to be refreshed enough and have enough energy to do a quick, half-hour writing session. I do that a lot, and I actually get it done because I just needed to kind of recharge. Sometimes it's a matter of like, I'm just feeling really stressed because I've been working so much. I just need to take an hour to do something for me, whether that be watch a movie or a TV show, or play some video games, or do something for me that's going to help me to wind back down, refill my cup. And then I find that I can actually tackle whatever writing I wanted to do, right? So I want you to really check in with, what are you feeling when you are trying to write and you're finding it really difficult? What's actually there that's blocking you on that level? And you know what? You can even do this with inspiration. If you're not feeling inspired, if you're like, oh, I just can't find my ideas, like I'm just really blocked around that, there's always going to be things that spark inspiration for you. So sometimes the feeling you need to shift is giving yourself more time to play, giving your brain more space to play and develop ideas and be creative. A lot of what I do in my writing process, which might look nuts and seem really unproductive, but it works for me, is that if I know that the ideas are not quite there, I will often just listen to music, and I will do that for days straight. Not that I spend the whole day listening to music. I just mean like I give myself a solid couple of hours every day where I don't write, I listen to music. And it might seem super unproductive, but I will sit there, I won't do anything, I'll just like let the scenes play out in my mind with the music, because that's a big part of how I get my inspiration. Another thing that gives me inspiration is just playing video games. Like I like that for building worlds, because I get to run around in worlds and I get to see how things work, and that helps me to get my own ideas, right? So those are just two things that work for me. But oftentimes a big part of my writing process is playing and like just doing things for fun. Because after those couple of days have passed and the ideas have built up in my mind, I'm ready to sit down and tackle it, and I can write for like chapters on chapters on chapters, right? So a big part of what you might be doing is you might be trying to write daily to be consistent, to build momentum, without giving yourself the space in between to get inspired and to give yourself that break and to give yourself that creative space. Now, the final thing I want to talk about today, the third thing, is that you don't have any discipline with your writing routine. So a big thing that actually helps us write is having some kind of consistency to it. Because if we have to keep starting and stopping, we are constantly starting again from scratch, right? When we have a consistent writing process, which again, doesn't mean you're writing every day, but it means you have a consistent writing habit of some kind. And when you have that and you can tap into that and you can flow with that, you will find that you stay in creative flow in general. You will stay inspired most of the time. You will be able to write with ease at certain times of the day or certain days of the week because you've built the habit that your body then recognizes, and it's like, oh, it's writing time, right? Like you go to bed at a certain time, it's bedtime. You wake up and you go for a run, it's run time, right? Like you will have a writing time if you set that writing time with consistency. Now, I get this can be kind of difficult if you do shift work. I used to do shift work, and I was never able to have like a set writing day or writing time because I was constantly like changing my hours, right? So this can get difficult for some people, but I would encourage you to keep it as consistent as you possibly can. If it is possible for you to set aside a set time or a set day. For example, I write really well in the evenings and also on Saturdays. And that's really specific, but it's also what works. Like my body always gets inspired around those times. It's always like, let's do some writing. And I genuinely want to do writing because I feel that that's my writing time. So that's when all the ideas are flowing, right? If you can set that habit, it will help you so much. And then practicing that consistency and that discipline with it. Even when you have days when you don't feel inspired or you do feel pretty tired, giving yourself that bit of a kick up the butt to be like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and just get some words done anyway. Like even if you don't hit a word count, just get some writing down will help you to keep that consistency and flow going, right? If you can't pick a certain time or day, or maybe it's just like really difficult because you have kids or something, which a lot of my clients do have that. Even if you just if you just try and make it work with whatever you've got in your schedule, like instead of setting set times and days, setting a set quota of writing like work, right? So for example, maybe you want to try and hit 5,000 words a week and you just kind of get it done when you can. That's still consistency, that's still discipline, right? It's just about finding the right time to work for you, right? So it will look different for everyone, but if you can practice, it's really about that practice, right? Practice writing, practice consistency, practice discipline. Even if it doesn't look like you're hitting a certain word count a day or making a set amount of progress, it doesn't matter because the act of it is what will help you to stay in that creative rhythm, and that's really what you want, right? Okay. That was all. Those were my 3 tips for why you're finding it so difficult to write right now and things you can kind of try and work at that will help you to improve that. If you found this video helpful, please let me know down below. I would love to hear all of your responses and any questions you might have. I also have some free resources for you in the description box. So if you found this helpful and you'd like some more like writing help from me, or you just like to learn more about what I do, please check out the description box down below. They are all free resources down there for you. Okay, that is all from me, and I will chat to you in the next video. Okay.